this morning. I'm Sarah Colvin, and joining me live in studio, our Director of Public Works, Dan Santos. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Sarah.
How are you today?
Doing great.
So I have to say the roads look fantastic. I know the crews were out there. I saw the plow go by my house multiple times yesterday, and I live on a secondary road, so certainly the crews were out there. So tell me a little bit, take me back to the beginning. And actually, we can talk about Friday, too. We've had a few days of some storm incidents here in town.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an interesting couple of days. This storm yesterday was, as the first one on Friday, well predicted. So we know they're coming. We have a good sense of what they're going to bring as far as accumulation, timing, wind. The one on Friday struck a little earlier, but we were here and ready. I think the one thing we've been doing is making sure that as we plan out these storms, and we spend a lot of time sitting down with my team, thinking about them and how we're going to approach each one, depending on all the things that are variable in a storm. We want to make sure we're here earlier rather than later. We don't want to get caught. So we were in yesterday morning, 3 a.m., and we start with a application of the salt and brine mix on the roads, and that helps to keep the snow from sticking for as long as possible. So that's the first thing. And then we staged our main road contractors, the ones that are going to plow, and our secondary contractors, so they were in place for 8 o'clock. We opened the emergency response center, which is our kind of central location where we manage these storms. It's over at Highway Division. We opened that at 4 a.m. yesterday. So we were ready and waiting for it to come, and as soon as it started snowing and accumulated, we had the blades down on the plows and we're plowing, and that just kept on going and going, and we actually didn't finish till about 3 o'clock this morning. So our guys were out there for 24 hours basically working.
And it was a busy storm. I mean, and it escalated pretty quickly yesterday. I know I was out on the roads about 5 o'clock yesterday morning and did notice the pre-treating. And I think about 45 minutes later was when the snow started, and an hour later when I left to get out my car, it was definitely very snowy, and it just kept going all day long.
Yes, we had some heavy rates of accumulation, probably late morning. And so the roads do get snowy, and we try to keep up with it and at least keep it to a minimum. And only until after the snow stops is really when you can clean it up, get the mains down to the pavement and what we call black running water, so they're just wet. And then the secondaries doing all that cleanup. And that cleanup means widening the roads, pushing back the corners, just making sure that they're safe and there aren't sight distance issues when you're trying to pull out of a corner. But it's amazing the work these men and women at Public Works do. I'm not driving a plow, but the ones that do when they're out doing this work, it's 24 hours of work. I mean,
a lot.
It's really shouldn't be underestimated. It's amazing. And they're back there this morning. They ended at 3. They were back in this morning at 7.
Wow. It really is amazing, and as you said, it is work. It's tough to be out there keeping an eye out. And I did notice a lot of people who had plow stakes in their yards, so that helps a little bit. But certainly, it is a lot of effort to push the snow around and to be able to do that. And in the conditions, I mean, a lot of times yesterday there was blowing snow, there was a low visibility, it was very windy, so definitely a little treacherous to be out there, no matter how large of a vehicle that you have.
Oh, absolutely. Once the visibility goes down, it's just tough to see. It's tough to see the road. It's tough to see other cars on the road.
Yeah.
So it's a real challenge, and it takes a lot of mental energy as well. It's stressful. You ever drive in a rainstorm on the highway? It's stressful.
No fun.
So that's that goes on and on. But
exactly.
They have great attitude, and they know that's the job, and they get it done. And I think the roads look great this morning. I'm very pleased driving around the last hour or so. And things look good.
Absolutely. Even last night, I took a break around 4:30, 5 o'clock when the snow had kind of stopped, and we shoveled out the driveway, and I took a drive around so my husband could clear out the rest of the driveway. And I noticed Pitcher's Way was down to bare pavement, Route 28, West Main Street looked really good. So all in the neighborhood, it was and that was 5 o'clock yesterday. Of course, we got a little more snow overnight. But not a whole lot, and definitely a lighter snow than we had on Friday.
Yes.
Friday's was definitely heavier and wetter. And
what's very helpful, and we, I have to emphasize constantly, is when we're in these storms, if you don't have to be out, there's no need to be out, and we can get our job done so much quicker and better. And by having the town offices closed, not only in Barnstable but other towns, the schools closed, a lot of businesses closed, there wasn't many people on the roads yesterday during the storm, and that was very helpful. Main Street was very empty. And when Main Street's empty, we're able to plow in those parking areas where when there's cars there, it's very difficult to do, and it creates a problem later on.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's definitely helpful. So what is left to do? I know today, as you mentioned, they'll be out there pushing back corners, sidewalks, things of that nature.
Sidewalks, and we'll get into sidewalks, and usually within 2 days of a storm, this is what we would call a Category A storm. Within 48 hours, we'll get the sidewalk work going. In Main Street, we do the sidewalks during the storm because there's so many people, pedestrians around. But we need to have our contractors and our crews get a little rest, and then they get back into the sidewalks, and that takes a few days to do. So we'll be working on that. That's pretty much what remains.
Great. And you mentioned that it's a Category A, and I think this is a good opportunity to remind everyone that we do. I think everyone with their census got the new brochure that kind of outlines the different categories. So what does it mean? What do you mean when you say a Category A storm?
Well, a Category A is what we would consider our typical storm here on Cape Cod or in Barnstable, where it's 10 or 12 inches, possibly up to 18 inches, depending on the rate. But it's not heavily accumulating snow, less than an inch an hour. It's the kind of snow where all of our equipment is able to manage it, and so we're able to get to the main roads within 8 hours clear after the storm, and the secondary 16, and we certainly met that in this storm.
Absolutely. So any problems, any issues, any concerns? I know we had very limited power outages, which was great. In terms of like downed trees and flooding, any concerns there that we had over the past few days?
We had some flooding because of Friday. We had a lot of rain before that storm, so there was a lot of flooding prior to that, and we did as much pumping where we could of that, and then it started snowing, and then we were moving snow. So the rain is definitely an issue. With flooding, and if it melts fast and we get more rain, you get a lot of private property flooding, basements, yards,
right.
Some of the roads, but we try to keep up with that based on people calling in, letting us know where those problem areas are.
Great. Anything else about the storm? Again, I really think you did a great job. Do you know offhand about how many crew members that you had out there working over the course of the storm?
The number I like to use is between contractors and our own people and equipment. There's 200
Wow.
people and equipment approximately. Working on these, and I think the changes we've made in the last year, I think have clearly showed a difference in the response. You get up in the morning, it's done. People can get on with their lives, and that's really what we're trying to do, is provide that level of service. And with the new equipment, the heavier equipment, the Oshkosh machines we got, they do a beautiful job, and it was really a good choice, I think, to go that way.
Absolutely. Where specifically in town were those used? Were there specific areas that you use those big snow fighters?
Yeah, they're used mainly on the main roads because they're so big.
Right.
There's a lot of secondary roads that there's no way they could even get down.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to get those stuck. And I have to say, I'll give a tip of the hat to Assistant DPW Director Rob Steen, who kept everyone informed over the night with the updates on the website and passing that along to our Director of Community Services, Lynn Poyant, who posted it on Facebook, Twitter, et cetera. I think having that information, hearing from the residents are grateful to know what's going on, where the plows are, what the activity is.
Sure, even if they're not on your street, it's nice to know that they're somewhere and that there's a lot of activity going on, even if you don't see them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dan, I thank you so much for stopping by. Nice to see you here in person.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Dan Santos is our Director of Public Works, joining us here on Barnstable this morning. We'll be back.